Have you ever wondered what stories hide behind forgotten photographs, untold moments from history waiting to be uncovered in the dust of time? It was an iconic moment when a photographer and reader captured a bride leaving her home, which was destroyed by bombing in London 1940. This was on the 4th of November, and the raids were coming in the middle of the German bombing phase, which was called the Blitz. Roofs were destroyed, lampposts crumbled to the ground. There were pieces on the streets and sidewalks. Acrid smoke contaminated the air. However, in spite of such disasters, people lived, and thus love had its place even in such circumstances. The bride in a wedding dress came out from the remnants of what was once her home, a symbol of hope for the future. That was why her path to the altar turned into a symbol of the victory of the human spirit over hopelessness. What must have been going through her mind as she strode away from the burnt-out remnants of the past into the future? This photograph isn't just an image, it's a testament to the strength of love and the will to survive amidst the devastation of war. Ironically, during the London Blitz of 1940, "Keep calm and carry on" was not only a motto, but a reality. Amid the rubble of London, this milkman's quiet defiance captures the essence of resilience in a city at war. It was a time when the city was on the brink of being attacked with the sound of air raids and the feel of grounds shaking from bombs. Still, at the heart of the ruins, people continued to live with extraordinary intensity. This milkman's passive-aggressive behavior encapsulated the British character. Despite the chaos, this milkman's quiet act of delivering milk embodies the spirit of survival in a city under siege. This photograph serves as a reminder that courage isn't always big. It is present in even this small gesture of turning up. This powerful story takes place when one had to live off the land or die in the inhospitable Arctic in the 1920s. One particularly striking photograph from this period depicts an unnamed Inuk man patiently instructing a young boy in how to shoot. No longer was this an exercise of mastering the art of shooting. It had to do with receiving a knowledge that has served their people for centuries. If the people in the area had to survive in the Arctic, they obviously had to be tough and able to withstand the severe conditions. Each hunt was for food, clothes, and equipment for the people in the community. For the boy, it was more than an exercise in learning responsibility. It was a brief chance at closeness and, to a degree, patterning. His firm grip and vigilant gaze could be interpreted as signaling instructor-student generation past and generation now traditional relationship. What silent lessons were exchanged in the harsh, frigid solitude of the Arctic? Was the boy indeed able to comprehend the gravity of absorbing such knowledge? In 1976, Kiss was at the peak of their fame, known for their larger-than-life stage personas, dramatic makeup, and flamboyant performances. But those flashy platform boots and painted faces belonged to four young men, namely Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss, and their families could only watch in pride and confusion as their dreams grew big. The provided photograph from that year depicts musicians holding their parents. In general, the picture is rather tender and gives an idea about the personal lives of rock and roll legends. As it seems for their parents, perhaps nothing was more magical than their children's metamorphosis into symbolic superstars of the world. The photo captures the clash between two generations. The parents dressed in modest traditional clothes while their sons are dressed in extravagant outfits, a visual testament to their rock and roll status. Yet beneath this contrast, there is an unmistakable warmth, an unspoken pride that flows between them. How must these parents have felt, watching their children become global legends while still holding on to the boyish innocence that only a parent could see? This August sideshow was even more oddly hypnotic. In 1958, showgirls backstage at a glitzy spectacle huddled around a chessboard. It's a striking contrast, the way glamour, glitz, and fame clash with the aspect of stern strategy and hard thinking. These women looked for the calm before the storm in the minutes before the girls took to the stage. These were not moments dedicated to final rehearsals and putting on makeup. The 50s were a great era for showbiz, and showgirls represented the elegance and entertainment of the time. However, this picture shows a different part of their lives. which is not exposed to the public, the actual personality of the entertainers. In between the exhaustion from the games and holidays and loud fans, they yearned for small, odd breaks, such as a game of chess, to calm their jittery nerves. But what was running through their mind as the time approached the moment they were actually going to perform on stage? Were they contemplating the next move on the episode's checkers-like board, or the spectacular dance performance awaiting them on the stage in the next scene? In the 1940s, amidst war in World War II, two African-American soldiers captured by Germans posed with slogan bullets written, "Easter eggs for Hitler." The date was Easter, a day associated with rebirth and resurrection, but these soldiers were as far from their loved ones as possible in a world war where the boys had to demonstrate maximum valor. For these men, this was not just a moment to take a photo. It was a moment of laughter in tragic and hard lives. Hence, they were able to fight the Axis forces as well as the discrimination back home as African-American soldiers. Nevertheless, they stood steadfast and delivered their message to one of the most vile despots of human history. Did they ever picture such messages that were once hidden within their games as Easter eggs, as the symbols of perseverance and rebellion a few years down the line? And was that just how they compromised with the harsh neighborhood of war? On June 8, 1958, David Isom, at the age of 19 years, a black young man in Florida, put his life at risk and took a stand against segregation by swimming in a pool that was meant for white. It was a subtle form of rebellion, but its effect resonated beyond the surface of the water. Mainly, the story of Doving speaks a lot about the period of racism where the lines of division were heavily drawn by the community, and where he had the courage to defy such injustice. What was supposed to be a recreational facility, the pool became the stage for civil rights struggle. Instead of addressing their bigotry, decision-makers preferred to eliminate the facility altogether. For Isom, it wasn't merely a few moments of swimming as they fought for their humanity and equality in a society that deprived them of both. How did he feel, or what must have been going through his mind when he was crossing that line, which is often taken for granted? Was he aware that his action would be recorded in the annals of history, or was he just motivated by the principles of equity? In the year 1903, an incredible photo was taken, which shows two Khalid standing Kashmir giants along with the American photographer James Ricalton. These two men, above the height of 7 feet, were giants and had become popular for their size in the region where they lived. Meeting Ricalton was a moment when the European photographer and traveler came face to face with an example of exotic otherness. The image itself tells a fascinating story. Two half-illiterate, muscular mountain men of Kashmir, with little exposure to Western culture in their routines, posing alongside a photojournalist who has come into their territory. Again, Ricalton's travels posed him with the vast face of the unknown, and in it sighted not mere giants in physical stature, but giants in culture, all of which bear an interesting story to tell. What must these men have thought as they stood before the camera, having their picture taken for the eyes of the world to behold? Did they remain indifferent to the meeting, or did they feel that this encounter might be important for their lives? Among the most memorable facts recorded in 1928 was the shooting of the entire logo of the MGM studio, including a roaring lion. When the American film industry was on the precipice of attaining global prominence as the world's center of movie production, this logo was yet to take its place as the emblem of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios' might. The roar of the lion stands for much more than just mere sound output. It signifies MGM as a force to be embraced, intimidating anew in the movie production realm. They shot this scene in a studio, and the crew made sure that every single thing that you see on the screen was done intentionally, the light and the noise included. This was a combination of the natural view of the landscape and the technical view from the satellites, and it produced a timeless picture that would be copied and pasted into the history of filming for decades. Was it at this point, when the lion released its first roar, that the makers of the movie were establishing an emblem that would come to symbolize the best in filmmaking? Or could it have been just another working day on the locations? During the early part of the 1900s, on the concrete sidewalks of New York. Children ambulated the heat in the most creative manner by sleeping on fire escapes. The crowded tenements offered little relief from the oppressive summer heat, so families turned to the only space available, the small metal staircases that were hanging off the structures. These children used the fire escape as their bed, where they got a tiny bit of ventilation at night that never came to the city. Splayed figures of small, pinched bodies literally bring out the struggle working families went through during this period of the Industrial Revolution. Imagine how it would be to wake up on the floor on those steps with a stiff back and neck while hearing the noises of the city around. Did the cool air help calm them down, or the faint possibility that tomorrow would be better? Thank you for revealing the stills of the past with us. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who loves uncovering history's hidden truths. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. Remember, behind every still, a story unfolds.